make some jump shots for me, okay?
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome to Jeffersontown High School.
How you doing?
My name is Drew.
Good to see you.
What's changing here in other places, what I love, is the idea of teaching to every child's strengths and interests, and not sort of this mass production idea, but all these different pathways, all these different opportunities for students to find their passion, find why they want to come to school. And to be able to do that at a high school, 1,300 kids, not small, that's not an easy task. But you could just feel, not just those kids' words, but you could feel and sense how happy they are to be here, how much they're learning. That's the joy of great schools.
You're like 4 or 5 steps ahead of me, so bring it down to basic.
It's a perpetual motion machine that
You're creating this, inventing it, okay?
Yes, I have. It runs by itself. It's generated by polarity and magnetisms within it that kind of keep it going, so you don't need any gasoline or any type of fuel to generate it. No water. But the thing is, since obviously there's nothing that can be perpetual motion, I have added a skip beat, or something that after there's a loss of energy, it would reignite it. So the energy that it does consume, it generates itself and it keeps on going. And right now I have a model that goes 30 volts of electricity. It's that big, so less than...
Do you have it here?
half an inch. I have no, it's at my house. I have a new model I'm working on, a bigger one that's in product. I have the parts for it here right now.
Okay.
Wow.
So how do you come up with it? What do you think about it?
My teacher showed us something like an iteration of it on YouTube that was really crude and something, and I thought of a better design, so I drafted it with our program and then used a 3D printer to make it at the school, and then we've been working on it here.
That's how it's all supposed to come together.
Yeah. It's white like wow.
I just love it. Everything about it, walking in, the smell. I just want to tell them all about this program, how great it is, how much I love it, and how, it's just a great program in general. For them to put trades into the school and be able to let kids be able to come through and try out the trades and see what they actually want to do throughout their life, I just think it's amazing.
So ever since freshman year, I've been able to use Inventor and draw stuff up on it. I've made trains and all these cool shapes. But this actually gives you the ability to fabricate what you've actually just created.
Right now, basically what we're doing in our classes, we're drawing isometrics on the computer, and we've also been doing a little freehand sketching, that kind of stuff, and then most of our seniors are on co-ops. So the program just gets us ready for, after high school if we want to go into something engineering related, and most of our students are on co-op jobs, which are basically they do the same things we do in class, which is what is preparing us for is.
It is really about equitable access. In an old system, in a way, the access was available for those who fit the mold. How do we create success pathways for kids so every kid has access to a future that works for them? No matter where they're from, no matter what life conditions they bring to the table, no matter the effects of poverty, no matter the effects of disenfranchisement. None of those things should overcome our ability to put kids on success pathways that leads them where they need to be.
At this time, we have Ms. Amy Hatfield, Human Resources at Ford. Okay. We've got Dr. Dewey Hensley, Chief Academic Officer for Jeffersontown Public Schools. We got Charles Killebrew, a 12th grader here at Jeffersontown High School. Mr. Secretary Arne Duncan. We got Alex Meady, 12th grader. We've got Dr. Hargan, Superintendent. Mr. Jerry Burke, our welding teacher here at Daytown. Okay. Mr. Jim Allen, who's the CEO of Hilliard Lyons and Ford NGL CEO Advisory Chairman. Welcome. And Missy Payne, a chemistry teacher here at Daytown. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Faced with a hard decision with many different influences, I pretty much flipped a coin and came here to J-Town. So I got here, and then from the very beginning, I started learning the fundamentals of the engineering that I'd be going on to use the entire 4 years. By the second year, I was already in a small group that would be working on a project supported by GE, a private foundation that donated us a refrigerator to take apart as a team and put back together. There's different subgroups that we'd focus on different aspects of that, and truly just getting us more involved in more ways than just learning the education off, the front of the board. It's not just the knowledge here in the magnet program. We can learn that in a classroom anywhere. We can learn that online. It's the experience and the process that we learn with the engineering magnet program. When we learn how to work with others, how to brainstorm, how to really the more technical engineering aspects that we use outside these walls as soon as we walk out of here our senior year. I have not regretted coming here for a moment. of my entire high school career. And I could not be more thankful of the teachers and the technical teachers that I've had here that have helped me. Truly, I couldn't feel any more prepared to go on to college than with the rest of my life being an engineer.
Thank you, that's great. Teachers, could you please speak to your externships and how those have affected your teaching and instruction?
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to say it's a grand privilege to serve on this panel and a great opportunity to share some of the work that we do at J-Town. Our externship work is a Ford Next Generation Learning project implemented a couple of years ago, and I was fortunate enough to have Charles Killebrew on my first pilot team, which consisted of chemistry, welding, and geometry. And so these kids were able to really enhance their embedded curriculum into each program. Ms. Payne here and myself and Ms. Francis worked together to actually create all types of projects where the kids would understand more in-depth curriculum and content. So a good example would be, the first example would be the welding that we do. We did a D1.1 structure steel certification test plate. And we simulated that, and we thought, well, as far as the planning, how would we really embed more curriculum, more activity, more core content into this project? And so Ms. Payne and Ms. Francis and myself got together. We did the planning to determine that first we would enhance the types of testing that we do. Typically with welding, we do guided bend test and we do visual inspection. And we thought, well, we'll do electrical properties testing, we'll do corrosive testing, and the students will get to see other ways to do inspection. And this is a sophomore level class, so the real key here is we're working towards an objective, and that objective is to make sure every kid in our program is successful. They are capable of going to either a college, a tech school, an apprenticeship, or be successful in a career path. And so our first and foremost objective when we train these students as a sophomore level student is to enhance their education, their theory, the things that are over and above of just striking a welding rod onto a piece of metal. And so we're talking about electrode classifications in chemistry class. We're talking about cubic meters and things of that sort in geometry. We did a project last year that was cubic meter build. So the first thing that we teach all of our students in all of our classes, including chemistry, is OSHA safety standards. And within the OSHA safety standard, how do you take a sophomore level student, teach them how to weld, teach them how to do chemistry, and actually teach them something more where they can get their hands involved? Well, we used an MSDS sheet or an SDS sheet. And we talked about cubic meters, we talked about milligrams per cubic meter, and we came up with this idea, why don't we build a cubic meter? So the students are basically doing fundamental welding. They've just learned the processes of welding, so they really don't know anything about gluing metal together, so to speak. So that gives them an opportunity to put something together, but more in depth, it gives them a chance to see, when we talk about milligrams per cubic meter, what does a cubic meter look like? What does a milligram look like? And so all of a sudden we have new learning. We've actually created new learning by doing small projects like this. We also, from last year, we also reached out to the community and we did a gate project for rapid rehabilitation. But the way we do these projects is project-based case learning. All of this implemented through our business partners. We've done externships where we would go out to Ford Motor Company and teachers, core content teachers, CTE teachers, hand in hand would work together. They would actually be able to go into the plant and learn different things, different problems that happen within the plant. And so we create scenarios. How would you solve this problem? And so that's kind of how the NGL, the project-based case learning, originated from. The way we did this GATE project is the kids actually had to put a proposal together. They were approached by Rapid Rehabilitation, which is a nonprofit organization, and their dilemma was they needed a security gate. They didn't have the manpower nor the know-how to put one of those together, and was willing to fund the materials, but needed someone that would be interested in doing the build for them. So my group of students, which was my second year cohort group of students, which actually was the very first pilot, came together. They broke themselves into teams. They wrote team contracts. They made a proposal by doing all types of quotations and developed the presentation and presented the proposal. And within that proposal, of course, they were awarded the award to do that. So if you were capable of looking at some of the slides in there, the finished product was a span of 30 feet long. They had an arch on there that they incorporated their parabola skills from their Algebra 2 class, and they were actually able to put all of their presenting information together through their English 3. So 2 different cohort teams that I was capable of working with, the chemistry and geometry as a sophomore level, the English 3, and the Algebra 2 for the junior level. Phenomenal work. Some of the best work I've ever seen. And what really came out of it was the fact that the learning had changed. The students didn't really understand team skills, team building, work ethics as far as soft skills. You know, we thought we were concentrating on upper level skills, but all in all, we found out that the students needed to learn how to work together better. Those things kind of evolved as we started doing the learning process, the teaching process. And so the students learned to work with each other. And what was really cool about the whole situation was that some of those students said, we're not going to be able to pull this off. There's no way we can do this. At the end of that build, when the kids finally did the final installation, which actually, incidentally, the last day of school last year, they were finishing the project. They stood in front of the gate, and every single one of their faces was in awe. It was just the most inspiring thing to see. And why did this all occur? It came together because of our core content embedded into the actual build process. It was enhanced, rigorous curriculum, and it was all project-based learning. And so when we think about this, and I apologize, I talked a little bit long, but I think it's very important that I share this information because project-based learning is the key to success within our school system. And we need more of that. And we need to use that as some type of test rather than have just a regular standardized test that we spend so much time on making sure that student can pass the test. I think the students are getting plenty of tests through project-based learning. And so I think we need to be innovative about how we look at this from this point forward. I better stop and let someone else share some information.
Thanks, Mr. Burke. What about you, Ms. Payne?
I was going to add,
quote-unquote regular classroom teacher.
yes, I am the regular classroom teacher, although my classroom is far from regular. I was to say the externships taught me how much content is really needed for these kids to be successful on the line. And when I went to Ford and I watched those people have to be able to read and process information at a very quick, rapid rate to make sure the car got from point A to point B in a certain amount of time with doing it correctly every time. How much math is involved. So it was those high skills, content really related, as Jerry said, but I saw it in action while I was at Ford for a week, and then I was also at GE for a week. I'm on 2 different teams, engineering and the build with the welding, and how much they have to know and be able to do before they leave our classrooms is unbelievable. Just to, as you say, work on the line. That's not just to work on the line. You have to be able to be process information quickly, think on your feet, and solve problems that are beyond just a homework worksheet. They really have to do more, like as Jerry was saying about all the projects we've done. Being able to think for yourself is so very important.
Thank you. And I failed to mention, if any of you panelists have any clarification questions or questions you want to further that discussion, please chime in, okay? Community partnerships in CTE is critical and its value. Would our community partners and anybody else who would like to share, would you share with us the rewards and benefits you have gained and hope to continue to gain from this partnership with the schools? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here basically on behalf of Ford. I've been with Ford Motor Company in Human Resources for 20 years. And I've hired engineers to supervisors to assembly line workers, skilled trades, etc. And there's a great need out there. Yes, we do need those college degree engineers, but we also need a lot of students to come out of high school career ready. So Ford Next Generation Learning has been around for 10 years. Our greatest success story is probably Nashville, the Academies of Nashville, that's visited globally. In fact, President Obama went to visit Nashville McCavick High School. But so then we finally brought it here to Louisville, Kentucky, and this has been our first plant city. And with 10,000 employees and like most of the workforce, we have a lot of people retiring over the next 10 years. Not to mention with the boom, we need a lot of people now. So to us, it was like, well, this just makes sense. We need to partner. So we find it, not only do we need those critical skills, but it's also those soft skills that we need in the manufacturing world and in general, you know. So one example, you know, we've partnered up with all the teachers, and we, the sophomore engineering students came to our plant and they built an assembly line. They all broke up into different teams, and they all had to do a section of the assembly line come together. Again, they did their hypothesis, they tested things, they thought what their outcomes were, then they gave a presentation. So each of the teams presented for their final project to the teachers in the school 40 minutes. And I was like, okay, you can come to us, but get that 40-minute presentation to a 5-minute presentation. You know, just like we all face in the everyday world, you know, you have to be very concise. So they all stood up. They all presented in front of us. They had to work as a team. And at the end, we had a panel of our employees. We're like, so what did you learn by working with teams? And you know what? They faced a lot of things that we face in work environment every single day. But it's critical that they also are gaining those skills as well. And our engineers have just like stepped up to the plate. They've been so excited to share the knowledge that we have. And the things that we take for granted every day are those core classes that they're learning in high school now. I'll turn it over to Jim.
That's great. Well, obviously, Tammy acknowledged some of the direct benefits and matching education with skills needed in the workforce, and that's one of the benefits of connecting the community and the business community. I think the other benefit is just raising the awareness, engaging the community in a way that enables us to better understand and better connect with what's going on in the schools, and that has been really significant. We've, you know, in the development of the master plan, we probably had 100 community leaders in building the master plan to eventually implement the Ford NGL work, and that was significant. And then along the way, we've just had the opportunity to raise the profile of this and raise the level of awareness and acceptance in the community for some great work.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hensley, this is actually a question for you, because yesterday the 5-star school principals met with you, and would you mind speaking to some of the more salient points of discussion we had in that meeting yesterday? Because a lot of it had to do with well, in fact, all of it, I believe, had to do with CT.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. It was an extremely productive meeting with those principals yesterday. They're such insightful leaders who talked a great deal about the shift we're making, the shift from it being about all children can learn, which is a good statement, to a bigger challenge of each child will learn, and providing each student with a success pathway where we're figuring out how to personalize and identify a future story for kids or with kids and with their families, so that those students see a pathway. They see it into college or beyond college, or as Charles and I talked about, both. They're able to think about both of those things because of the experience that's happening in our 5-star high schools. So that work was powerful, and principals talked very specifically about how they were seeing the trajectory of kids' lives changed because of that work. Now, they also brought to the table in our conversation a lot of things that need to happen for this to truly be optimized, for it to be optimally effective in changing those trajectories for kids. And the first thing, of course, they talked a lot about was teacher quality. Our ability to empower teachers and help teachers grow, build their capacity so they can create these project-based case study approaches to solving problems, and they're able to deal with not only the mastery of a standard, which is extremely, extremely important, but in service of that, learn those dispositions that make them really successful. And that connection between using those dispositions in service of mastery of standard and content That truly makes them college and career ready, not just in our state's capital CCR, but in the small letter CCR, the reality of them making good decisions in their own lives. We talked about rethinking the school day, how that our ability to look at, to break away from the old Carnegie units of the past and think about a school that is flexible enough to meet the needs of kids, rather than having kids be forced to meet flexible enough to meet the needs of the school. That was a powerful part of our conversation. How can they use time better? How can we create a environment where teachers can collaborate more? The professional learning community concept and bringing these teams together, that requires us to create the time for that. It requires a structure and infrastructure that enables teachers to have that time and to be able to do that work. And then we talked even more deeply about the community relevance and how important the community partnership we have and how that drives our kids towards something relevant. Not only are the activities in the classroom, the learning has to be relevant, but the personalization, that thought around a success pathway of where a kid fits into our community. And by community, I don't just mean Metro Louisville, I mean beyond that, in the global community. Where do kids fit in, and how can we create environments, learning environments inside schools, particularly in our 15 comprehensive 5-star high schools, so that more and more kids are finding that relevance. More and more kids are mastering standards, and that leading to them having really powerful future stories that they're able to tell. So our leadership is key for us, teacher quality is key, and rethinking how we do school, so that kids get opportunities is powerful. It is really about equitable access. In an old system, in a way, the access was available for those who fit the mold. How do we create success pathways for kids so every kid has access to a future that works for them? No matter where they're from, no matter what life conditions they bring to the table, no matter the effects of poverty, no matter the effects of disenfranchisement, none of those things should overcome our ability to put kids on success pathways that leads them where they need to be. And that was the tone yesterday from principals and counselors and leaders that they brought in to meet with me, and I was very, very impressed and feel confident about the future of our 5-star schools as we continue to do great things like what's happening here at J-Town High School.
Thank you very much. Dr. Harkins, you have a unique perspective being the superintendent. Just speak a little bit about your on the balcony, so to speak, perspective of CTE and JCPS, and go anywhere we want with that.
Well, and what you have to remember is that we believe that when we do our jobs right, we improve the community and the world forever. That no matter what the question is, education is. And what I see from the balcony, I think it's a great question, is lots of alignment and synergy. So you have what we call a cradle to career pipeline, that we know that our students have to be kindergarten ready, have to be reading at 3rd grade, and have to be given opportunities within that pipeline to engage in learning. And what we saw when we toured the actual classrooms and saw the students, we saw students engaged and excited about learning. And what you see at J-Town are amazing teachers who are working together to provide those learning experiences. And then you add, we have a community that is supporting this work through the foundation and Jim Allen, through Ford and Tammy. So you've got this synergy of, we want our students to be ready for the world, as Dr. Hensley said, and prepared to take their place in it. So, and it takes that alignment and synergy and that working together to create that pipeline. So we're not working on individual things. And of course, 55,000 degrees is about when students are at the end of our pipeline, They take over and make sure that they're college or career ready. So that's part of the pipeline. And then Kentuckiana Works is about ready for work and giving students opportunity to do real work and have experiences. So it's, somebody said about Louisville, Kentucky, everybody shows up together and everybody's working together. So I think we saw boats. So if you can imagine a whole community rowing together for the benefit of students to provide that pipeline so that they're ready for their career. And of course we have a great Board of Education. Board member Chris Brady and board member Linda Duncan are here, who really set the conditions for all of this to happen. So we're excited about, and I call it synergy, the synergy that is being developed here. But the credit goes to all the partners, all the people that play a part in it.
Kind of going back full circle here, go back to the teachers. J-Town's really proud of the fact that our college and career readiness percentages have increased by 57% over the last 2 years. Can you maybe speak to the effects that our partnerships in the community have contributed to this rise, or how, you know, the project-based learning, that kind of thing, how that all kind of works together to maybe have affected that statistic?
Are you sure you want me to talk?
You got 5 minutes.
Well, first and foremost, you know, it's very important to mention the business partners and how critical, how important it is. You know, we use these business partners in many, many ways, and primarily as good advisory people. You know, we need to know what industry, manufacturing, and all the business partners actually need. And so the only way we can do that is to basically reach out to them, and they have reached out to us as well. As far as the way that we've actually done better, enhanced our career ready and college readiness, our industry certifications, I mean, we do so much remediation to make sure that every kid's prepared. But when I talked a little bit a while ago about project-based learning and how we did rigorous activities within the classroom right out of the gate as a sophomore level student, they're learning shielded metal arc welding. Have 3 kids down on the bridge right now. They graduated less than 3 years ago now. The bridge has been going on, I guess, over 1.5 years, 2 years. And, you know, there's a nice article on the labor cabinet about a young lady. So this isn't just a male thing. This is ladies, female, male alike. She's been down there on the bridge as a carpenter. And she tried 2 or 3 different ways of getting, you know, where she is now, and determined that welding was her career path and turned that into an apprenticeship with carpentry. But my point is that all of these kids, we reach out to the community, we reach out to the apprenticeships, to different tech schools, different colleges, and then of course our business partners to give us some support. What can we offer these students? You know, I think one of the big things to get kids industry certified, career ready, is the outreach that these companies have gave us that says, hey, you know, you get this for this student, you help this kid reach these benchmarks, and we will put these kids to work. And, you know, within that, I mean, right now I have 8 kids that work as co-op students, and the activities that we've done through project-based learning has prepared these kids for the workforce. And these kids, in some cases, you know, they were missing, you know, basic math skills that they really needed to learn. And, you know, we can do more of that. We can reteach things that maybe the kids have been missing over the years by doing project-based learning. We're revisiting a lot more information. And the business partners are working hand in hand with us to make sure that we have tools. Tammy had mentioned that the engineers had stepped aboard. We had a professional development over the summer where all of the Ford engineers, there was 8 different engineers were there, and we had support from Ford Motor, the company, and then we also had UAW representation there. And they all came together with different types of lessons, plans that we could actually incorporate into our instruction. So, you know, in an easy way to say it, you know, it's all the commitment that the business partners have gave us regularly, and coming to our school and working with our students and mentoring our students and creating co-op opportunities, and then taking it to the next level, inviting them into these apprenticeships and these different schools where they can completely do anything that they want to do. And I think that that's the key.
If I could just just mention one of the things, because you asked about college and career readiness, I think a shout out is deserved to the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the leadership at the top level of making college and career readiness important, making sure that it is defined what that is. And so I want to recognize Interim Commissioner Kevin Brown and certainly former Commissioner Terry Holliday for the leadership and the partnership in really setting the tone of what's important in the entire Commonwealth. And Mary Glenn Wheeler is on the State Board of Education, so we have a State Board of Education member here. But it really starts in the leadership at the top level of the Commonwealth.
As far as our scores going up, I think a lot of it has to do with getting kids connected back to school. I mean, you give them a passion, a reason to come to school, to show up, and to want to learn about chemistry because now it's connected to welding. I mean, it's whenever I would take them down to the welding shop, and yes, I learned to weld too. It was very exciting. But the connectiveness of the chemistry and the welding was so evident to them. And when they were showing to me, Miss Payne, this is how you do this, and they were teaching me, and I'm teaching them the chemistry. It was just a perfect meld, so to speak, of the ideas and the skills together. And when kids have that passion, just like we have that passion for learning, there's really no stopping them. And I think that project-based learning is how that starts.
Matt, I'm sorry. Thank you. I just wanted to echo that, and it's an honor to be at the table with Missy and Jerry, two tremendous teachers that create that relevance inside the classroom. What our community partners do is they illuminate that relevance through our externships and the way we've been able to put teachers out in the field to experience and connect what happens in the classroom to the real world of work. That creates that relevance, that excitement, and great teachers communicate that to kids. This is what the world looks like. This is why this is important. This is why you need to understand this standard and master it, is so you can do this. And it's not pie in the sky kind of discussion. It's about the real world of work. And when that happens, that creates relevance and passion in kids. It's truly powerful. And great teachers are the key to making that happen. Having teachers that can spark that relevance in kids and give them hope and a future story, that is what a lot of our work is around, and that's where our community partners are so powerful in supporting and helping those teachers.
Just going back to the original question from Dr. Kingsley of why in the past 2 years has college readiness and career readiness gone pretty much skyrocketed up through the school. I'm going to start off with I'm going to say two things. One of them is the selfish reason. One change that I've noticed here as a student is the class identity. The kids that are walking into this school are the ones who are also changing it. That as much as we love to say that what you do to a student will really change who they are, one thing is that the student has to take charge and take their own identity of their education. They have to take charge in what they're actually absorbing. Now the second thing that I'm going to talk about is why all of you all have promoted such an awesome growth. It's because kids my age need to know why. If you ask a kid to take out the garbage, they're going to ask why. If you tell a kid that he needs to learn the 3 gas laws, they're going to ask why. And when they don't get an answer to that why, they're not going to want to learn that. They're not going to really absorb it. They're not going to remember it. And they're not going to care about it at the end of the school day or at the end of the test. What project-based learning does for that is it gives us a reason. It gives us a why to that statement. Why do we need to learn the 3 gas laws? Well, for me, I had to learn it so that I can relate it to how a compressor and an evaporator and all that works inside a refrigerator that we took apart when I was a sophomore as part of the Ford NGL. It answers that main question of why. With the class identity of why this school is getting so much better, it's because the kids are finally having an identity with the school, that they aren't just doing better academically for themselves, but because it helps, because it's part of the community. There's a competition between everywhere else. After this, I'm changing out of this into a band uniform so I can march in a parade later, the Gaslight Parade. Everybody in that band takes identity with this school and where the kids are actually taking this. So thank you for answering the question of why this is all important, and that is why the kids are taking it to a new level.
Well said.
Charles, do you have anything you'd like to add? No pressure.
Pretty much express it all right there.
All right, good. Thank you. We just have a couple minutes left. Secretary Duncan, I assume this was basically an informational gathering for you, but do you have any thoughts or you'd like to add to this conversation?
I think I'll just say amen. He said it perfectly. There's nothing to add. No, I just want to thank all you guys and our team, Ted and Johan and others who are here. This is a really big deal for us. It's a real chance to learn, and you guys should be so proud of what you're doing collectively. And to maybe state the obvious, you guys make it sound easy. I know this stuff is hard, but this is a pretty radical departure from what school used to look like. This is not sort of tinkering around the edges. When you think about the traditional school of kids being lectured to and sitting at a desk and time being constant, that's not what I saw this morning. That's not what these guys have described. So just a couple themes that for us are so important. This idea of college and career readiness, not a false choice, not tracking kids, but more of both. And there are all these false debates in education. You guys are doing both. These partnerships with Ford and others, I just think are huge. And what I'd love to hear is not just for students, but for teachers to see what the real world is looking for. And so often there's a big disconnect, and you guys are bridging that. I think, I don't speak for you, I think it's both altruism, which is fantastic, and self-interest, which is great too. It's the right thing to do, and you need the next set of customers and employees and others. So when those things come together and involving the teachers as part of that is huge. You guys said it a couple different ways, the project-based learning, connections to the real world, answering why. I think that's all what our kids are looking for. And so many kids drop out of high school because they don't know why they're going. It's not relevant to their lives. It's not that it's too hard, but it's too easy. It's not important. And so answering why, that hands-on learning is huge. And the final thing, which is interesting, we need to come up with a better term, this hard versus soft skills. I hate the name soft skills because they're not soft, they're critical. And what we all do as adults every day is try and work in small groups and solve problems. And you guys, both the technical chemistry and biology and learning how to code, but also how to work in teams and solve problems. These young men and young women here are just going to be set up for success. And so I just want to thank this collective team for the example they're setting and for the opportunities they're creating for students. So thank you so much.